All right, welcome back to the second segment. Now we are looking at another trending issue that is likely to happen the next 6 days. You see, Iran is on the edge. The final days of Donald Trump is likely to determine the fate of Iran, in which some of us we don't hope for, but there's that likelihood. Now, the 4 years of Trump's administration, you observe how the Trump administration has been very tough on Iran in regards to their nuclear program. One, Iran, it developed nukes, which is 2015. They entered into the JCP agreement under Obama's administration with a promise of 150 billion US dollars. Out of that, they gave him 1.5 billion as in cash. Aside that, Trump by unilaterally, he didn't even consider his other allies like the Europeans, the Germans, the France, and other NATO countries. And not walking out of the deal, said it was badly negotiated because it was more like an appeasing policy. It's like a person wants to do nukes. Now, Sikab now between their money panel a desist from such practice. No. Because to them, it didn't stop. They believe Iran started financing its proxies. We saw what happened in Yemen between the Houthis. And we saw what happened Hezbollah became very powerful, Hamas became very powerful. In as much as they managed to bring peace on the Gulf or on the Middle East, they didn't see it that way. Rather, they harmed the allies of the United States. So Trump, in his own way, as I stated, unilateral manner, a withdrawal from the JCPOA agreement. Not just that, imposing sanctions back on Iran. So Iran's economy was on its knees, no doubt. So they've been struggling so much, even during the COVID too. They're still having the sanctions. I know they didn't go too well with Iran, all because they want Iran to desist from the nuclear program, enrichment of uranium and building nukes. So we saw the assassination. Okay, prior to that, we've been observing how Israel has been very adamant where Iran is concerned. Israel has been very, very, very powerful and it's been targeting Iran assets. It was Syria because it's a proxy. They have a lot of its proxies there. Monitorizing Israel for bombing most of their military installations or just to weaken Iran. And then China, we saw two major decisions that happened here. The killing of General Qasem Soleimani, it didn't go too well with Iranian people. So almost retaliated with U.S. base, even though there was no casualty, but there were minor injuries to some of the U.S. forces. So aside that, right now what we are likely to see is that Iran need U.S. any Israel and say trigger pet automatically. U.S. is going to be in war because Israel and Kwan, I don't think they can take out Iran. Iran is a very powerful country because they've made it clear that the moment Iran is attacked, the whole Shia movement has been attacked. So, General Qasem Soleimani, we also saw recent assassination of nuclear scientists. And so, assassinated. They blame the Israelis. For the past 2 weeks, we've seen constant attack was Syria. You see, and a lot of people are saying that Iran is decisive patient because in the past you had an administration that gave you what you want. Within these few days, still Trump is still the commander in chief. One person the chance to strike. It's like they are provoking Iran this time around to get a call to striking. Oh my Iran hasn't even so during was it on the 3rd of January? There were a lot of anticipation say not the celebration of the 1 year assassination of Qasem Soleimani. Iran was going to retaliate, but God being so good, they didn't. Because they know Joe Biden's administration is coming. And likely Biden will give them a very good terms as compared to Trump, who even promised them that during his second knees, Iran was going to be on its knees to beg for negotiation, meaning Iran wasn't going to have it. Because as they withdraw, they impose more sanctions, and they told Iran there's not going to be any precondition. And no end and chain. So recently, United States moved aircraft carrier to the place. It was a kind of show of force. Iran also has been started training their navy or doing exercises. Then we saw for the past 2 weeks, U.S. move a couple of B-52s as a show of force too to Iran. So last night, say Israel, with the help of US, that's what the report was saying, started striking Iran. They were bombarding Iran facilities Damascus, thinking say to provoke Iran because that's 6 days away. These 6 days, anything can happen. And there's been a lot of former Pentagon officials or more out. They were sending a message to the U.S. forces, say anything that Trump will be making be militarily, be any moral grounds that they shouldn't go for. But with that one, I beg to differ because he's still the commander in chief. So Commander Omar, it's likely he's going to succeed. They will pay hit to him. Even in these or customs someone strike here, they are likely to do it. But you see, we all thought say it was a dead case because Iran did not revenge as of January 3rd, so everything was done. No, and we saw some strikes happen. As it stands right now, January 14, 2021, Israeli Prime Minister is now telling his forces to come out with another option or adapt a new way to to confront Iran nuclear program militarily. So it still tells you that military option is still on the table. Okay. As of last night, around 7 p.m., which is Michael Pompeo, who is about to resign from his position because Trump administration is coming to an end, is now saying that Iran is harboring terrorists. Therefore, Iran, even though they've declared Iran to be an axis of evil, that was during Bush time, but right now, Mike Pompeo is telling us Iran harbor terrorists. You see, they are looking for cause to go after them. That's exactly what they are doing right now. And you see, within these 6 days, we don't know what is going to happen. So from now to 6 days, I believe that Iran exercises that restraint. If you've been able to contain the person for 4 years, how much more 6 days? To me. Now, people are alleging that Michael Pompeo is like a warmonger. Like he's trying to provoke Iran so much they are looking for a legitimate cause to strike Iran before, because this is what is going to happen. In the past, if you should count on the past, Iran policy with U.S. hasn't been cordial, even though it was hostile. But the Democrats find a very interesting way to manage that as compared to that of Russia. Because this time around, the Democratic Party, their policy on Russia is going to be very hostile, in respect to what happened in 2016 elections and how Russia has been behaving on international politics, competing on certain places of our Americans not so much interest in, like Syria. So it's likely Biden's administration. And if you look at the kind of people Biden are appointing on I will leave that for future discussion. But now, as we are focusing on what is likely to happen, now, another statement that Pompeo Dubai, it tells you clearly that Iran is on the borderline. Within these 6 days, I hope, they will exercise the ultimate restraint. They shouldn't do anything to provoke them. Let this administration go, because they cannot just wage war, declare war on Iran. And here is the case that U.S. will directly be involved, even including the new government that is likely to come, where U.S. interests get affected. For instance, going after their base or attacking their soldiers, and that's what is going to happen. Because still, almost USSR, almost aircraft carrier, and they still have their people on the ground. It's likely, this is what people are saying, Israel will start and they will find a way to get Trump administration. Because look, Benjamin Netanyahu said this, that Israel indeed has never had a friend than Donald Trump. It means amongst all the American presidents, I think that Trump has done so much for them. Look at what he did for them. The annexation of Golan Heights. Look at what he did for them, moving their capital or most of the embassies to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv. all this accomplishment, it goes against the Palestinian interests. But yes, still Trump unilaterally, he did it. So right now with Iran issue, until January 20th, that midnight, Trump will be free or it is not safe. Anything can happen. Anything can happen at that point. So I believe Iran should be more careful because in as much as the war is not going to benefit both of them, no. Something I say Iran much careful because Iran may not have the capability to destroy mainland United States, but here's the case that when U.S. invade Iran, they will destroy their regime, but the U.S. will be there. Now, there's also another school of thought. Like I said, Trump doesn't have the home support, assuming the person who is now, who have been impeached as of last night. He doesn't have the home support to attack Iran. That is also there. But here's the case. It depends on the political future of Trump. If Trump intends to come back in 2024, they may use that against him too. Time may even correct that. Now, the second thing people are also saying that going after Iran is also going to ruin his legitimate, it's going to ruin his legacy. That is also a concern. But you see, when the forces is so much on him, it's likely he can instruct and they can initiate war with Iran. So let us all pray for Iran, and let us all pray for Israel, United States, to have calm tempers as we move to new transition. On that note, I'll say we'll end Face the Nation GH when it comes with the international politics here.